Hey everyone, and welcome to another installment of our podcast with the mayor. And as you can see, we have a new one in front of us. Alex Rounaghi, welcome to our podcast. And you've taken over Sue Kemp's uh, role as mayor. And we're happy to have you. So how's your first week been?
Yeah, well, great to be here, Clara, and it's big shoes to fill with Sue. But yes, it's been crazy so far, but very exciting, and looking forward to working with the very strong city council that we have and the members of the community and city staff on all the important issues in Laguna Beach.
You were sworn in you were appointed about 10 days ago. And how have things changed for you? Have things gotten a little bit more busy, or what's your first week been like?
Things have gotten a little bit more busy, and it's funny because when people think of mayor, like coworkers have asked, "Oh, does that mean that you're going to be doing that full time?" There's sort of this perception that you're like the at the city all the time, but really, what's so great about Laguna is we have a great staff, and so they've been very helpful with different things, like the newsletter, and different events that I've been involved with. So it's been a little bit more busy than being just on the city council, but so far it's been great.
So personally for you, you've been on city council for a couple of years now. What are some of your personal goals as mayor to move the city forward as we come into the new year?
Yeah, well, I think that the city council, we have a lot of shared goals, and I would sum them up in sort of three different segments. Number one is public safety. That always has to be the most important role of local government. That which means fully funding our police, firefighters, marine safety to ensure they have the resources that they need to keep us all safe. And that's a big burden on us, to that responsibility, because they're literally willing to risk their lives for our safety. So the least that we can do is ensure that we're giving them the resources that they need. At the same time, we have to look at, as it relates to fire mitigation, we have significant fire risk in this community. The question is not if the next big fire will happen, but when. And we saw, in 2022, there were two wildfires, the coastal fire and the emerald fire, that if the winds had shifted a different direction, it could have been catastrophic for our community. So we always have to be vigilant. And so on that, we've been, Bob Whalen and I've been the ad hoc committee on undergrounding Laguna Canyon Road, which is a key priority, as that's one of three ways, PCH both ways, and then Laguna Canyon
Mhm.
evacuation routes in town. So that's fundamental, but also just in terms of preventing wildfires from happening. I'm working with Councilmember Orgill, or Mayor Pro Tem, I should say, Orgill, on our updating our fire department strategic plan. We've been working with the fire chief and deputy chief on that, and figuring out how can we leverage technology like AI to be able to detect wildfires quicker. That's something that's actually already been funded in previous budgets. The question is, how do we get this done and implemented? With police, on the police front, our police chief has been, Jeff Calvert, has been working on innovative strategies like with our flock cameras, which allow us, which are automatic license plate readers that allow us to basically be smart about how we're dealing with people who are committing crimes in our community or outside the community. So public safety is number one. Number two, I think, is infrastructure. And we're a city that in 2027, it'll be our 100th year anniversary, which is very exciting in many ways. But at the same time, when you're a city that's almost 100 years old, you have infrastructure that needs to be addressed. And that is definitely what we have in this community. We have four fire stations. Right now, all four of them, if there were a major earthquake, all four of them could collapse. They're not seismically safe. That's not what you want when you have fire stations. Thanks to the leadership of the previous council, they got the fire station plan. They have, property and plans for the fire station in South Laguna. And so we're working on how can we getting shovels in the ground this year so we can get that building, that key public safety facility built. And then the next question will be, how do we plan for, fund, and ultimately build, repair, and also potentially look at building a new fire station in different areas to ensure that we have four fire stations that in the event of an earthquake are seismically secure. That's critical. Some of the other issues that often they're not particularly interesting issues. Well, actually, they're very interesting to me. But water and sewer, right? We don't think about water and sewer. We take both those things for granted. Our sewer system has significant deferred maintenance. And so for the first time, we're Public Works has we approved a contract for a wastewater master plan, which will allow us to plan out the next few years of improvements so that we can ensure we have a system that's reliable and we can minimize, spills going into the ocean, which is something that we never want to have happen. And then, of course, water. Water is something that without water, you can't really have a city. And as of right now, we are reliant on 100% imported water, which and over the next few years, we know that metropolitan water, that water is going to be more expensive as they deal with deferred maintenance, but it's just also less. If an earthquake or some sort of an event happens, we want local water reliability. That's key, and we want diverse sources of water. So we're working on with Newport Beach on building a well in Fountain Valley that'll allow us to have access to the groundwater basin, which is good from a reliability perspective, but it'll also reduce ratepayer costs by $1 million each year. So infrastructure is number two. Number three, I see as efficient municipal services. The number one issue that I hear about from constituents is delays, particularly in our community development department. We need to deal with the backlog there. And there's a lot of different ways that we're going to need to approach that. One is we're getting our online permitting system going. ADUs are now online, so you can apply for ADUs, but ultimately we need all of our processes online because it's a way to have streamlined services that are more user friendly. So at the same time, we have to look at our code. We have a code where there's a lot of there are areas in our code that can be improved and streamlined, where we can have potentially less discretion in certain areas. In some areas, we want to have the discretion. But while there are rules that we never want to change, for example, the 36-foot height limit, that's fundamental to what makes Laguna Beach unique. We don't want to we don't want to remove that. But there are other rules that are oftentimes not necessary. And so the council will be considering in early 2025 an update to look at streamlining so we can make our rules clear and just more logical, which is going to make the user experience for our residents better. So those are the kind of the three high level priorities. But again, it's not me who sets the priorities, it's the city council. And I'm very much looking forward to working with, the four of them and our city manager and city staff over the next year as mayor.
Yeah, and you've hit the ground running. Those are some lofty goals.
Yes.
Ambitious, I should say. But it sounds like you already got the ball rolling on that with the council. And speaking of getting the ball rolling, there are some workshops coming up for the community to take part in. And I thought maybe you could chat a little bit about what's on the horizon as far as city held workshops.
Yeah. Well, what I was discussing during, when I was talking about the priorities, really what we need to do as a city is figure out how we can fund, because we want to do a lot of different things, but there's only so many resources that we have, whether it's like staff capacity or financial resources to fund these projects. And so in January, we're going to late January, we'll be having a all-day workshop on a Friday. I think I don't have the date in front of me, but where we're going to go over our strategic plan, and we're going to get a 5 and 10 year financial plan update from the city manager. And so the goal there will be to map out what are all the goals, what are all the things that we want to do, and then figure out how can we fund and implement them and the timeline for doing so. Because you can't do everything, and sometimes you can do a lot of things, but you have to choose when you're going to do them. And so that's a key priority, is figuring out how we can actually implement all these great things that we want to do, and not just study them or talk about them, but actually get them done, because all the issues that are important.
Right. Yeah. That all sounds great. It sounds like you're trying to streamline a lot of things, and I'm sure the community is grateful for that, especially when it comes to community development. And that wraps up our podcast for this week. I'm sure you're going to be busy over the holidays, and we're going to return after the holidays and see how you're doing.
Well, thank you, Clara. I appreciate all that you do. It's hard to put together a newspaper every week, so I don't envy your job, but we're grateful to have a local news source like the Indy and of course Stu News in Laguna Beach. So thank you.
Thank you, Alex.
Looking forward to more conversations.
Yeah, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Have a good one.
Sounds good. Talk to you later.